the hell? Cheaper by the dozen should be called wasting my time by the dozen. God damn. Dudes and dudettes, what is good? It's your boy VT, and today we're talking about the Cheaper by the Dozen remake by Disney. Now streaming on Disney+. Not that I would actually recommend it. This movie is about a family of 12, 10 parents and 10 kids and 2 parents. Can you imagine that? 10 parents, 2 kids? What the hell? How does that even work? And this family is formed from 2 divorced families merging together into one ginormous family, having 10 kids. Few adopted, few born from one family, few born in another family, few born in the combined family. And that's how this entire family ended up, or came to be. And as expected from the trailer, this movie was really chaotic, really hectic, but not in the good way the trailer was setting it up to be. So the story is basically about a family business from the Bakers, keeping the same last name from the original series, where the entire family works in a family-owned restaurant, which is actually a breakfast restaurant that the father started before he met the mother. The new mother. It's just really cool to watch how the family works together as one unit to keep this entire restaurant running, making sure the kids go to school, each of them having their own dreams, wanting to achieve their own things in life. And that's just really cool and interesting to watch how this family functions as a whole. And then finally, in this movie, the father's dream is coming true. He's made an incredible sauce, an innovation in the sauce industry. And his sauce is finally going big, with a big opportunity ahead of him to bring his brand out, bring it to every home in the country, bringing his brand of sauce to the retail markets. And as every cliche would go, things change. He gets a whole ton of money, and money changes him, and not in like a bad way in any way, shape, or form. He's able to provide his family with what they've needed. They've wanted to move into a bigger home, and now with this money from the new business, the new opportunities that have come his way, he's able to provide his family with everything he wanted to, with helping them move into a new house. A bigger house for the bigger family. And I mean, as you would expect in a cliched story, things don't necessarily turn out as they will, because change isn't always a good thing. I mean, you have to be open to the idea, but sometimes it just won't work out for the best. Alright, so this is a family movie. Like all the other movies in this franchise, Cheaper by the Dozen always has been a family movie and always will be, and it is centered around the core theme of family. But, oh my god, from the trailer of this movie, I was really expecting this movie to be really good and setting up to be a future classic for future newer generations. But this movie was terrible. I take back everything I said about wanting this movie to be a classic. It was chaotic, it was hectic, but not in a good way. I mean, we're just seeing a family of 10, each of them having their own aspirations, dreams, and whatnot, and that's all great. But the movie is just really boring, honestly. The story is mildly interesting and not well executed at all. And on top of that, to make it all worse, the acting in this movie is really terrible. In this movie, the terrible acting is just so out there, and I think it's more prevalent because of how boring the story is and how bad it's executed. That terrible acting just becomes more of a presence, more openly presented to you, and it really kills the entire vibe of the movie, making it harder to watch and making it far more cringy. I mean, this movie feels like it's trying to do way too much. It's bringing in the ideas of racism, change, having to accept oneself, the importance of family, and a core theme of judgmentality. Honestly, actually saying it doesn't seem like a lot, but the execution was so poor that it just feels terrible while watching it. And I mean, the story feels pretty cliche and not in a good aspect. I mean, you're seeing the father make a big stride in his dream of making a sauce go big, and then of course he helps his family move, and in your head you're like, you just got this brand, slow down. I get you want to move on and make things work for your family, but you're rushing too fast. Moving, not necessarily a good thing. His eldest daughter wants to go to USC and play basketball as a point guard. But yeah, there's so many changes happening, so many changes. Everyone has to learn to make new friends. And on top of that, they're going to a new neighborhood, which is dominated by rich people. And I don't mean that in a demeaning way in any way, shape, or form. Thing is, if you were to move with a family of 11, which is chaotic as hell, into a safe neighborhood full of rich people who are more calm, collected, and not as wild, you're going to stand out. And all that attention can make you feel uncomfortable, as Zoe, the mother, recognizes. And on top of that, there's a lot of judgmentality there. People judging a mixed racial couple. And it's actually shown well here that everyone just acknowledges it and then moves on. It's not a big deal. They're happy, they live their lives, great. But then you see these a few people who just act a little more in a racist manner, and it's just interesting to see how the family deals with it. It just feels really awkward to watch in some scenarios. And a big point in why it's awkward to watch and terribly executed for these scenarios is because of the terrible acting. Once the story is terrible, it just highlights the terrible acting. Although, don't get me wrong, there are plenty of scenes where acting is just fine and it's great to watch. And one of the scenes is actually my favorite, when the ex-father, who is a football superstar, interacts with the new father, and they have a discussion on how to raise his black children, and that is one of the best scenes in the movie. Seeing how this family interacts with one another, how this change impacts them, how they talk with one another, how they interact with one another, how they communicate their thoughts, their ideas, how they feel. And throughout this movie, you see that everyone has parts of the change and move into a bigger house that they like, and multiple parts that they don't like. And it's just predominantly shown throughout this film what people like and don't like, showing the pros versus cons of moving. Mostly showing the cons, because as much as they enjoy the luxury of this new house, being excited by everything they have that's new and they couldn't have in their old house and their old life, they're also showing that they don't appreciate it. They don't like it as much. Like, I mean, you can see the kids clearly stating literally every single night that they don't like the idea of being so far from their parents' room that when they call, they can't hear them. So yeah, it just really shows how excitement can cloud one's judgment of a new change. Honestly, overall, this movie, it just isn't it. It's not immersive. It's definitely not rewatchable. Not really that enjoyable. It really feels like a waste of time to watch, or at least it did for me. Honestly, a big red flag for this movie was when last week Turning Red came out. There was so much promotion going on for it, and then this week Cheaper by the Dozen came out, and I barely saw any promotion, and goddamn, I understand why. Honestly, the trailer just made this movie look really good, and the movie just turned out to be a huge disappointment. To just summarize everything, it feels cliche, not in a good way. It's boring, mildly interesting. The story's terrible. The acting's terrible. Not many good points about this movie, to be honest. I mean, there were just a few really interesting scenes. It has, like, the mildly interesting part of the story. It's watching the racism, how the family deals with it, how the family deals with judgmentality, the entire family as an overall collective, how they interact with one another, how they grow as a family, how they react to the change. Honestly, from that aspect, it does seem interesting, but for the most part of the movie, you're just bored. It's not that great, and it's just not it. In the end, though, I think we gotta rate this movie a 42%. Wasn't that great, not that enjoyable, not that fun, but it does have its few interesting peaks here and there. I really don't recommend this film, honestly, but if you're a family with young kids, then definitely check out this movie. You will likely enjoy it. I hope. Honestly, if you had to choose a movie to watch from this franchise, I'd highly suggest picking one of the first two to watch. Those are classics that should be passed on to future generations. This one was not it, and I really hope that it doesn't become a classic for the future generations. I think they should watch the originals. Though, in a sense, it does feel like this movie would be better considering how much times has changed since the 2000s to now. Early 2000s to now, there's been multiple big changes, and that's really reflected in this movie. And let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think of this movie. Did you enjoy it? Did you hate it? What did you think of it? What do you rate it? Let me know. And with that, that is all I have for you guys today. So don't forget to drop a like and hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one.